You know, it's funny. I remember when I first got Stardew Valley. I played around with it for a little while, but I never really had the chance to go hard with the game. Until now, I decided it was time to give Stardew Valley a real go and commit to 100 days and document each day of my progress. And this video took a very long time to make. I've been working on this every day for the past month. So I would really appreciate it if you dropped a like while you're watching the video if you are enjoying it. Here are my first 100 days in Stardew Valley. So I wanted to start out on a brand new save file for this challenge. I then started filling out all the info about my character. My favorite thing to do, napping of course. Naps are so underrated. Then I had to choose my pet, so I decided to choose the German Shepherd looking dog. After trying to make my character look somewhat like me, I was left with a very hard decision. What farm was I going to choose? Since I'm basically a Stardew Valley noob, I went with the standard farm. It seemed like the best option for me. On my first day in Stardew Valley, I cleaned up a little section on my farm and I planted the parsnip seeds. You know, the seeds that you get when you first start the game. Then I went to go meet all the townsfolks. And one thing that really impressed me with Stardew Valley was how depth each character was. Like, each character has their own personality and it's just very charming. I ended up meeting 17 out of 28 people that day. On day 2, I planted more parsnip seeds and I went to the beach and I met Willie. And he gave me a fishing rod. And as I was fishing, I couldn't help but to wonder, why is fishing so annoyingly hard? So after I failed at fishing, I decided it was time to go to bed. On day 3, I did a lot of exploring, and I really wanted to see more of Stardew Valley and meet more of the townsfolks. And I sold my first item, which was a leek. And I met Linus. Linus seemed super chill, kind of reminds me of a hippie. On day 4, I did a lot of collecting. I collected different forageables and also did some more exploring. And I ran into Abigail as she was getting her checkup. And I had a laugh when she said that she's not preggo. I love how open and unfiltered Abigail is with a total stranger. I think one day I might marry this girl. After that, I met George, and George didn't really seem too happy to see me. Probably because I walked in and interrupted his TV time. I mean, I wouldn't be too happy either, I guess. And on day 5, I had my first harvest, and I think I'm going to reinvest this harvest into more crops. I also began working on some of my foraging by chopping down some trees on my farm. After that day was over, I reached level 1 on my foraging. On day 6, the mayor introduced me to the community center. After being introduced to the community center, I decided it was time to reinvest the profits that I made with the parsnips to buy some potatoes. Hoping to make some more money later that night, I leveled up my farming to level 1. On day 7, I crafted my first item and it was a scarecrow. And I had no idea that these scarecrows were supposed to protect your crops from getting eaten. I mean, that's good to know. It was at this point I was really starting to get into Stardew Valley. I feel like Stardew Valley is very slow in the beginning, but once you make it past like the first week and a half, that's when the game really starts getting good. And after crafting my scarecrow, I decided it was time to investigate the community center rat problem. I interacted with some scroll looking thing and I left. Then I came back to my farm and I planted some more seeds. The next day I got this creepy letter from some wizard dude, and I did what any spontaneous person would do. I adventured out to the wizard tower. Once I got there, the wizard offered me something to drink. I usually don't accept drinks from total strangers because who knows what could be in there. Maybe they're trying to get me drunk. Maybe they're trying to poison me and take advantage of me. I have no idea. But after drinking the potion, I started tripping balls and I gained magical powers. On day 9, I crafted my second item, which was a chest. And you know what? I was thinking to myself, why didn't I craft this chest a lot sooner? Later that day, I gave Abigail a flower. After I did that, I was trying to find Leah, because Leah was the only character that I still hadn't met yet. I looked for her for a while, but I still didn't find her. So I took all the leeks from her garden. It was getting late and I realized I still had full energy, and there was no way I was going to sleep while I still had all this energy. So I decided to do something with that energy and make myself useful, and I cleaned up my farm a little bit. On day 10, I did some more cleaning on my farm and then I went to the general store. I then realized it was Wednesday, so I went back to my farm and I did some more work. I found Abigail inside of the salon and I gave her a present. Before the day ended, I finally met Leah, and now I've met everybody in Stardew Valley. On day 11, I checked my mail and Robin lost her favorite axe, so I was on a quest later that day to find Robin's axe. I then started watering my plants, and this was the first day that it hadn't rained in a while. Once I was done, I ventured off and I thought it was time to check out the mines. I was greeted by some guy named Marlin, and he gave me his rusty sword. As I was exploring the mines, I almost died. I wasted a cherry bomb because I didn't really know what they were used for. After almost dying in the mines, I started to work on some of my relationships, and I triggered a funny cutscene with Linus digging through the trash. Poor Linus. On day 12, I had a visitor show up at my door. It was Clint. He was telling me all about furnaces. I was thinking, man, that sounds beneficial. And after Clint left, Marine showed up on my doorstep with a doggy. I was thinking, dang, I'm popular today, and I named my doggy Skittles. And after that, I began harvesting my potatoes. Then I decided it was time to fix the broken bridge. So I got 300 pieces of wood for that. Once I did that, I began looking for Leah so I can give her her lost axe back. It was a long, eventful day for sure. My farming leveled up, and now I can craft sprinklers. You know, the crappy sprinklers. On day 13, I woke up and I realized that I had over 3,000 gold. So I did what any halfway intelligent person would do and reinvest that money into a new crop. Lucky for me, it was the egg festival, and you know the best crop in spring is found at the egg festival, which is strawberry seeds. Yay, I'm broke again, but it's only temporary. And after blowing all my money on strawberry seeds, I actually participated in the egg festival, which is like a little festival where you find these hidden eggs that are like hidden everywhere, and I actually found 4 eggs. Abigail won the festival, and I was happy for it. On day 14, I planted all my strawberry seeds, and then afterwards I went to the mines for a little bit, and it was really like at this point where I started to get addicted to Stardew Valley. On day 15, I started the day off by checking my mail, and I got a letter from Granny. She gave me a little tip on gardening. I was like, thanks Granny, thanks for looking out for me. After watering my crops, I headed back to the mines. I was looking for materials to make a furnace, and it was a very successful trip. I came back to my farm and I crafted my first furnace and I smelted my first copper bar. On day 16, I woke up and I saw some cherry blossoms falling out of the sky. I thought that was really neat and really pretty. Cherry blossom season's a very pretty season, one of my favorite seasons. When I got to Pierre's shop, Morris came in and was trying to steal all of Pierre's customers by offering them coupons to his store. What a douche. That's why I've never bought anything from Jaja Mart. I'm not supporting that guy. Besides, it probably wouldn't look good since I'm trying to date Pierre's daughter. I don't want Abigail's dad to like hate me, you know? Trying to get good with the family. Day 17 was basically spent in the mines all day long. I got from level 5 all the way up to level 10, and I stocked up on copper ore. And I slayed a lot of green slimes along the way. Now I gotta say, with this added combat of you fighting in the mines definitely makes it a lot more exciting, because mining in the mines is a little tedious work, but like, you know, when you have like these slimes trying to murder you, it just makes things a little more interesting, I guess. On day 18, I went to Robin's shop to see what the chicken coop was all about. I was thinking it's a little early right now since I don't have much money, and I'll probably make more money with crops, so maybe once I'm making really good money from crops, then I'll build a coop. After that, I headed back to the mines again, and I progressed that day from level 10 all the way up to level 20. And when I got to level 20, there was a chest that was waiting for me. I opened it up and got a steel sword. On day 19, I decided it was time to work on my relationship with Caroline, aka Abigail's mom. Cause you know, I want to get good with the future mother-in-law. I decided to give her a flower. Then after that, I headed to the mines. I think I might have overdid it that day because I collapsed on the 24th floor. I did level up my combat skills to level 1 and my mining skill to level 2. On day 20, I went to the beach and I started collecting forageables. I gave Caroline a flower and I made it to level 25 in the mines. On day 21, I bought a bunch of seeds from Pierre's and went back to my place and started planting them. After that, I was just kind of wandering around and exploring, and then I triggered some kind of event with these kids near the sewer. I mean, I guess that's what kids do nowadays, they play in the sewer. Now, day 22 was a pretty exciting day because my strawberries were ready to be harvested, and I'm really excited to see how much money I'm going to make from my strawberries. After that, I went to the mines and I made it to level 30 that day. Leveled up my farming to level 3, and I made 3,360 from my strawberries. So I think that's about 660 profit. The next day, I noticed that my stats were really starting to increase and everything was pretty balanced except for fishing. Later that day, I went back to Piers and I gave Abigail and Caroline a gift, and Abigail is now at 2 stars. Then I went to the mines and I fought a swarm of bats. These bats almost killed me. And while I was in the mines, I did make it to level 39, and I really wanted to keep going because, you know, every 5 levels there's an elevator that kind of saves your progress, and I was just 1 level away from getting my progress saved, but I was running out of food and it was getting really late, so I thought the best thing to do would be just to call it a day and head back home. On day 24, it was all about the flower dance and getting my self-esteem crushed after being rejected by literally everybody there. Not gonna lie, I felt like a total outcast. Maybe I'll have better luck next year. On day 25, I woke up early and went straight to the mines. I made a lot of progress in the mines that day. After working really hard in the mines, I came to visit Abigail and we took over the world in this video game. I gotta say, I love these little events in the game with the NPCs. They actually make you feel like you're bonding with the NPC, and the subtle inside jokes are pretty funny. On day 26, I decided it was time to practice my fishing since I neglected it for so long. After about 5 failed attempts, I finally caught a fish, and it was a sunfish. After that, I went down to the dock and I failed some more, but then I caught another fish, and it was a halibut. Now, I'm convinced that fishing is the hardest skill in Stardew Valley, and it'll most likely be the last skill that I max out. On day 27, I started the day off by going to the blacksmith to get my geoids examined, and then I donated some stuff to the museum. I also learned a cool thing that I had no idea you could do, but if you ever need to move things around, you can actually pick the item back up with your pickaxe. On day 28, Caroline showed me her private sunroom. Now, my first thought was this must be her woman cave where she goes and gets away from Pierre. The next day I got a letter from Caroline and she gave me a tea seed recipe. And I thought that was really awesome because the thought of growing tea just really excites me. I'm a huge fan of green tea. Later that day I went to Pierre's and I bought a bunch of blueberry seeds. I pretty much spent every last dime I had on them. Then I came back to the farm and I started planting away. On day 30, I spent most of the day just collecting forageables, and I wanted to stock up on them so that I could make mixed seeds, because you kind of need mixed seeds in order to craft tea plants, and I want to go all out with tea plants. The next day I woke up and there was an earthquake, but it looks like there was no damages on my farm. I then checked my mailbox and I got a quest from Mayor Lewis. Apparently his purple shorts went missing, and that made me chuckle a little. But when I found his shorts, I literally laughed so hard. On day 32, I decided to give myself a little break from the grind, kind of just wander around the town and kind of explore a little bit. It was kind of like a flow day. Day 33 was kind of like a mining day, because it had been a while since my last mining trip. Plus, I really needed to get some more iron ore. Now, one thing I wish I would have done that day was bring a lot more food. I'm starting to realize that you need a good bit of food if you're going to the mines and you want to progress, especially with like all these bats ganging up on you and slime monsters. I learned my lesson because that day I did not advance to the next elevator. Now, when I got back to my farm, I crafted a tapper, in which these things are kind of like these things you put on trees to get maple syrup, oak resin, pine tar, or sap. So the most eventful thing that happened on day 34 was me teasing Haley. I told her that I snooped in her room. Funny enough, she actually believed me. But here's the thing, I actually don't have enough hearts with her to even go inside her room. So maybe I kind of snuck into the back door. I don't know. I hid in her closet. Maybe. Who knows? On day 35, I got Abigail to 3 hearts. Then she asked me if I want a freecation, where would I go? I said to the beach. But then she said that would get pretty old pretty fast, which kind of makes sense. I do think Abigail seems more of a cave explorer type of girl. After that, I started working on my farm and I chopped down some trees. On day 36, I decided it was time to head to the beach and get some forageables. Then I went to Willie's shop and he asked me how my fishing experience was going. And it was at that moment I knew I had to be brutally honest with him. and just let it all out. I told him that fishing is too difficult, and he agreed and sold me a training rod, kind of like training wheels for your fishing pole. And as I was using it, I don't really feel like it helped too much, because I didn't really catch anything but seaweed. The next day I headed back to the mines, and I really wanted to progress that day, so I made sure to bring a crap ton of food. These bats, they're no match for me. I ended up making it to level 50 that day, and I got some tundra boots. On day 38, I noticed that I had a lot of artifacts from the mines, and I don't think I need them, so I just donated them to the museum. And after donating all this amazing stuff to the museum, all I got was cauliflower seeds. Which, I mean, I guess that's okay. I'll save them for next year. After that, I headed back to my fortress, and I chopped down some trees, and I worked on my foraging by chopping down more trees. On day 39, we had the luau, and honestly, I had no idea what to put in the soup. I did have a potato, and was like, hey, potato soup, that sounds good to me. So I added the potato to the soup, and the governor said it was pretty average. On day 40, I went to the beach to collect some beach forageables, and while I was there, I was talking to Haley and Alex. I think Haley likes Alex. Yeah, Haley definitely has a crush on Alex. On day 41, I started growing some tea, and I planted 10 tea saplings. And then I started thinking that 10 is definitely not enough. I want to grow more than that. So I went off and I gathered more forageables to make more mixed seeds, to turn those mixed seeds into more tea plants. And day 42 was a very exciting day because my blueberries were ready to be harvested. And I'm broke as hell right now, so it's a good day. The blueberries were an awesome investment. Best part is that these blueberries will keep growing until the end of the season, so they'll make even more money. On day 43, I took all the profits that I made from my blueberries and I bought melon seeds. I chose melon seeds because they only take about 12 days to grow, and there were only 15 days left of the season, so I figured I would profit most from the melon seeds, considering this was the middle of the season. On day 44, I realized how much energy it takes to water everything. I literally almost used all my energy. That's insane. After watering my crops, I planted some more tea saplings. I think tea saplings are going to be an awesome crop, because you don't have to water them, so they should be pretty low maintenance. On day 45, I pretty much spent that day working on my relationships with the townsfolks, and Alex had a question for me. He was like, hey farm boy, do you think I'll ever turn pro? Now, for those of you that don't know, Alex is kind of like a preppy jock type character, right? His dream is to play in the NFL or something like that. Now, I could have told Alex, nah, you'll most likely fail and become a used car salesman, but I'm not a negative person by any means. I'm actually quite positive, but I try to be realistic. So I told Alex, maybe if you practice hard enough, you'll turn pro. And Alex is like, yeah, well, I'm so good, I don't need to practice. Okay, Alex. On day 46, it was pouring down the rain. And usually the rain is considered gloom and doom, but not in Stardew Valley. We love it when it rains in Stardew Valley, because that means we don't have to water our crops. It was also blueberry harvest day. Woohoo, more money. After harvesting my blueberries, I decided to spend the rest of the day back in the mines. I made 7k that day, and I leveled up my combat to level 2. So on day 47, I went to a few shops, I did some exploring, and I was thinking about the next move. What should I do with all my profits from my blueberries? Is it time to buy a chicken coop? Should I now start to diversify my income? That was the question. And day 48 was quite interesting. I got a letter from a hat mouse. I didn't know mouses could write letters. What game is this again? Is this Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley? I'm a bit confused. Later that day, I started gathering materials to build a coop. I needed 4,000 gold, 300 wood, and 100 stones. It took me a little while to gather that, and once I finally got all the materials, the shop was closed. Just my luck, right? Day 49, I built my first chicken coop, and I also got Abigail to 4 hearts that day. And then I laid down a little stone path to kind of make my farm look a little more put together, I guess. So day 50 was an amazing day because the blueberries were ready to be harvested, and this has been my 3rd harvest so far during during the season. We'll most likely have another harvest before the season's over, so you can imagine how much money you can make from blueberries. I definitely think blueberries are the best crop, but you gotta plant them early in the season to like maximize all the profits you get. And after harvesting all of the blueberries, I went fishing, and yep, you guessed it, I still suck at fishing. On day 51, Dimitris showed up at my door and said he was doing some kind of research project for the environment, and he needed my cave to do his little project, but in return I either get free bats or free shrooms. Yeah, I chose the shrooms, baby. Later that day, I discovered the hot springs. I had never really traveled that far up in Stardew Valley, and the hot springs are pretty cool because they'll like restore your energy levels. So if you have enough time before 2 a.m., you could probably get some more work done just by using the springs. However, they are quite far away from your farm. On day 52, I got a letter in the mail from SVT. Not sure what that means, but they said they were impressed by my farm. So I must be doing alright, I guess. Also, my chicken coop was finally finished. I got 2 chickens and I named them Mother Clucka and Cluck Norris. Day 53 was pretty chill. I did my usual routine, but I also took on a quest for Gus and gave him some redefined quartz. On day 54, I harvested my blueberries and I learned a fun fact about Linus, that he likes to shower in the rain, because it's a very pleasant way to get clean. God, these characters, they crack me up. I then spent the rest of the day in the mines and I had a very intense steel cave match with the bats. I made it to level 55 in the mines. And as I came out of the mines, I shared a moment with Abigail. We were playing music together in the rain and it was quite nice. The next day, my melons were ready to be harvested. And check this out, we got a giant melon. After harvesting the melons, I started working on my relationships. After that, I figured it was time to upgrade my tools. But I was a little short on copper, so I went to the mines to get that. Copper is pretty easy to find in the mines. You can kind of find it on the lower levels, like from 2 all the way up to 39. While I was there, I found amethyst, which is like a purple quartz, and actually one of Abigail's favorite gifts. She loves it. I ended the day with my farming going up not 1 but 2 levels. The next day I got a letter from mommy, and mommy's proud of me. That's always nice to hear. After that, I smelted some copper ores and I turned them into bars, and I went to the blacksmith to upgrade my watering can. Later that day, I was checking on my chickens and they seemed like they needed some more friends. So I went and I purchased 2 more chickens. Meet your new friends, McCluxalot and McNugget. And once nightfall hit, I went to the Moonlight Jellyfish Festival, which is basically a little festival where everyone stands around the dock watching these bright jellies being attracted to the bright lights. It was kind of cool. On day 57, it was the first day of autumn. I really love fall in Stardew Valley. I just really dig the fall colors. After I replowed the land, I went to visit Abigail and I gave her her favorite purple gem, and that raised her hearts to level 5. Then I started exploring around. I was looking for what kind of forageables I could find in the fall, because as some of you may know, with every season, there are different forageables for you to collect. On day 58, we got a special orders board, which is basically a board that will give you more quests you can do. I also got my watering can back from the blacksmith, and you know what that means, it's time to make some more money, baby. I spent around 25k and I bought cranberries and I bought pumpkins. I was thinking I probably won't sell the pumpkins because, you know, Abigail loves pumpkins, so I'll probably keep these pumpkins for gifts for her. But I'm definitely going to make bank on these cranberries though, that's for sure. The next day was kind of like a mining day. It was pretty intense. I was fighting 3 slimes at once and a bat, running for dear life. And I noticed I had a staircase. For those of you who don't know, if you use it like a staircase, it will help you advance to another level in the mine, so you can actually escape and go to another level. But I tried using the staircase, but it was too late. I literally fainted and I woke up next to Mario. Apparently she was there hunting for minerals and almost stepped on my head. Thanks for not curb stomping me, Mario. Day 60, I spent the day working on my relationships. I was chatting with the wizard and I had a moment. So Pierre is Abigail's father, right? But you know, Abigail kind of looks like the wizard. They both have purple hair. Do you think Pierre could be Abigail's stepdad and maybe the wizard is Abigail's real dad? Wouldn't that be something? It really makes me wonder. The next day I was thinking of ways to make more money with my chickens, and I learned that you can actually craft mayonnaise makers and put the eggs inside of them to make mayonnaise. So I would actually get more money by doing that than if I were to just sell the eggs. Later that day, I went back to the mines and I got some copper ore, and I didn't die this time. Woohoo! On day 62, I had the realization that it was time to expand my farm a little and get a barn or a silo, or both. I probably should have had the silo from the get-go because the silo is like so cheap to get and doesn't really require like too many materials. You can actually use the silo to give your animals food, so you won't have to actually buy the hay. And I actually didn't have all the materials that I needed for the projects, so I went back to the mines to gather them. On day 63, I had enough materials to build a barn, but I was a little short on clay, so I couldn't build a silo just yet, which is why I built the barn first. The next day, I went searching for clay so that I could get a silo started. Clay is actually kind of annoying to find. You kind of have to smack your hoe around town, hoping that some clay would pop up, which worked okay. I still needed 3 more clays to get a silo. On day 65, the weirdest thing happened to me. So I found this owl statue on my farm, and it literally just appeared out of nowhere. I had no idea where it came from. And funny enough, that's exactly what the item description said. It was also cranberry harvest day, and I found all the clay I needed to get the silo going. I made around 17k with those cranberries, so I guess you can say it was a pretty successful day. The next day my barn was finally finished, and I placed an order to get the silo started. I leveled up my foraging to level 5, and I had a very tough decision to make. Should I get the Forester perk or the Gatherer perk? Having 25% more wood does sound really nice, but I chose the Gatherer perk just because more forageable items means I can make more tea plants, and you guys know I love tea. So day 67 was mainly spent on making more space for my farm and also gathering materials. And later that night I wanted to give Abigail a gift, but she was sound asleep, which kind of blows my mind a little. Like, who goes to bed at 7:40 in the evening? Maybe she was out in the caves or something? On day 67, my silo was finally completed, and I also moved my barn to a better location. And a lot of that day was kind of spent decorating my farm, trying to make fences for the animals. On day 69, I was still working on the fences for the animals, and I totally screwed it up. So I didn't connect the fence to the door, so when I let the animals out, they kind of free roamed my farm. I'm not sure what I was thinking, that they would just magically teleport in the fence or something. So after that, I decided to just give up and go to sleep. So on day 70, I spent most of the day just kind of fixing my fence. On the bright side, I did level up my farming, and I made over 17k with cranberries. The next day, it was mostly spent in the mines. I was looking for some copper ore. I know, real exciting, right? On day 72, it was the Stardew Valley Fair, and this was my first time actually going to one of these, so I didn't really know what to expect. Basically, there are several games you can play for a chance to win star tokens, and you can exchange these tokens for prizes. It's kind of like a carnival. You can also bring items for Mayor Lewis to judge. I wasn't too sure how this works, so I didn't win. But if you guys know how it works, please let me know in the comments down below. On day 73, I wanted to pick another crop for my farm, so I bought 50 sunflower seeds, mainly because I was bored and I wanted to make some more money. And it was more than halfway through the season, and I wanted something that wouldn't take too long to harvest, but still give me profits. So I figured sunflower seeds would be a good investment. On day 74, my future mother-in-law sent me a letter. She wanted me to bring her a pumpkin so that my future girlfriend, Abigail, could carve it into a jack-o'-lantern. So I brought her a pumpkin, and while I was there, I also gave Abigail a pumpkin. And then I came back to my farm and I realized I needed some more excitement. I needed some more animals. So I brought home 2 new friends on my farm, Moo Moo the cow and Milkshake the cow. So day 75 was pretty interesting. The cranberries were ready to be harvested, and later that night I found Abigail. at the graveyard. I was like, Abigail, what are you doing? It's past your bedtime. Then she got in a fight with her dad, and we ran off together and hid inside a bush. Romantic, right? On day 76, I went to visit Abigail once again, and then she asked me a question. She wanted to know what should she dye her hair, and I was like, bubblegum pink all the way. She didn't think I was serious, but I think she could pull it off. Day 77 was really exciting because my tea plants were finally ready to be harvested. Like, you don't understand. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. After harvesting the tea leaves, I decided it was time to upgrade my big boy backpack. After that, I went to the mines once again to fight some monsters, and I passed out like a boss. On day 78, I had totally forgotten that I had mushrooms inside my cave. And you can actually harvest these mushrooms every 2 days. I've been missing out on all this extra money, so it kind of sucked. Later that day, I was working on my farm, and I tend to do that when I really don't know what else to do. On day 79, I learned that if you craft a kettle, you can actually put tea leaves inside the kettle to make green tea. I thought that was super cool. Now, day 80 was mainly spent on smelting all the ores I got from the mines. On day 81, I headed back to the mines, and I realized something, that these battles were getting a lot more challenging. I was fighting tougher monsters. Like, these monsters were like a lot stronger, and they were a lot more difficult to slay. So I went to the Avengers Guild to buy a new weapon, and that seemed to help a little bit. Day 82 was spent exploring and working on my relationships. I literally did that all day until dark. On day 83, my sunflowers were ready to be harvested, and they were huge. I mean, human size. Like, these sunflowers were ginormous. And later that night, it was the Spirit Eve Festival, which is basically like a Halloween type of event in Stardew Valley. Now, day 84 was kinda eventful. Since it was the last day of fall, I didn't have any crops to tend to, so I had a lot more freedom to work on other things. I gave Abigail a pumpkin and got her to 8 hearts. Then I went to the blacksmith and put in an order to upgrade my watering can. Later that day, I found a missing basket, and it was for Linus, so I returned it to him. So on day 85, Abigail and I, we kind of took things to the next level. I guess you can say we're getting a little serious now. After I asked Abigail to be my girl, I then spent the rest of the day in the mines. So the next day was spent working on my foraging. I was literally chopping trees all day long. At the end of the day, we leveled up the foraging to level 6. On day 87, we were back in the mines, and we progressed a lot that day, from level 55 all the way up to level 65. And I found a crystal dagger in a chest. We also leveled up the combat to level 3. On day 88, I put in an order to upsize my house, and funny enough, Abigail was there while I was placing the order. After that, I ran errands around town, and it was kind of like a flow day. I kind of just did whatever I felt like doing. The next day, I put in an order to upgrade my pickaxe, and at this rate, by the time winter is over, I'll probably have all my tools upgraded. After that, I started working on my farm, and I really do believe once winter is over, we are going to have a great foundation to work with. On day 90, I saw what appeared to be footprints in the snow, and it was that mystery guy that we saw at the beginning of winter. He gave me some kind of magnifying glass. Later that day, I became a wingman for Clint and helped him out with Emily by giving Emily a purple amist and saying that it was a gift from Clint. So on day 91, I woke up in a much bigger house. Now, my house still looks a little plain because I haven't really spent too much money like trying to decorate it and stuff, but I'm thinking once I get mega rich, probably in year 2, I'll start to decorate my house a little bit more and give it some more personality. Later that day, I progressed in the mines from level 65 up to level 70, and I got a master slingshot. So the next day was the Festival of Ice. And the Festival of Ice is basically like a little winter festival where the townsfolk will get together, they'll build snowmen, and there's also an ice fishing competition that you can compete in. But I did catch one fish though. On day 93, I was back in the mines, and I actually progressed quite a bit that day, from level 70 in the mines all the way up to level 80. And once I hit level 80, I got these Firewalker boots from a chest. On day 94, I discovered that there's actually a way to get inside Maryu's room without needing to have 2 hearts. So there's actually another front door next to the main door of the house which lets you inside her room. I thought that was pretty interesting. So on day 95, my steel pickaxe was ready, so I went to go pick that up, and then I did some more mining, and I made it to level 85 in the mines. And on day 96, I realized that gold ore is so easy to find once you get up into level 80s in the mines. I progressed from level 85 all the way up to level 95 that day. On day 97, I maxed out Abigail's hearts, and then I went back to my farm, and I realized how disorganized I was. So I dedicated the rest of that day to making myself more organized. My plan was to craft more chests and dedicate each chest to like a category. Like for example, my green chest was going to be for things that raised my health and my energy, and my white chest was going to be for all my resources, and the yellow chest was going to be for my forageables, etc, etc, you get the point. On day 98, I crafted a bunch of sprinklers, and I'm hoping by the time that spring rolls around, I'll be able to automate some parts of my farm. And on day 99, I made it to level 100 in the mines, and I saw Abigail, and she kind of confessed her love to me, and we had a romantic moment, I guess you could say. On day 100, I progressed to level 105 in the mines, and then I attended the night market festival, which is kind of like a little festival where you can like buy things. You can also fish inside of a submarine. Now, I didn't buy anything this year because I'm not trying to go broke before springtime. You know, I need to have some money to invest in some crops. So yeah, that was my first 100 days in Stardew Valley. Thanks for watching. Peace out. Love you.